Hello, you girls back to the motherland. She's been feeling guilty about not uploading anything to YouTube, and it seemed like you guys just had a lot of questions. So I'm giving everyone what they want today. First, we're doing a language learning Q&A, and then I'm gonna show you guys a steady day in my life. How I function, how is this even possible? If you don't know me, I'm so sorry for you. I'm Eylül, I'm 24, I speak 6 languages, learning my 7th, and I make language learning videos, and yeah, basically. Welcome. Let's start right away because I hate long intros. First question, how do you keep up with practicing all your languages and also go on with your life? So as I said, I'll probably be able to demonstrate better in the second half of this video, but basically you can't sit down and study all these languages every day, especially if you're trying to tackle 7 like me. It has to be a lifestyle. You have to do different things in different languages that are well incorporated in your life, but you also enjoy them so you don't even think about them. For example, some habits that let me practice languages every day without even realizing my phone is always in a different language. I have Spotify playlists for every single language that I'm learning, and I also have like podcasts saved. So when I'm on the go, when I'm getting ready, when I'm doing my skincare, brushing my teeth, I make sure that the things that I consume are in a different language. Music has always been very helpful for me to learn languages, by the way. I feel like that's how I learn most of my vocabulary, because I feel like I've always had this obsession of just memorizing lyrics. Like maybe before bed, I like to journal about my day. Nothing complicated, just like 5 to 10 sentences, but I also make sure to do that in another language. Yeah, but basically when you just have a bunch of habits like this, you don't even have to worry about sitting down and studying a language. I feel like I only mostly do that when I'm a beginner in a language, just like me with Japanese right now. Number 2, how do you manage to memorize and not mix up? Because I don't memorize and I never recommend doing it. I have a whole video about vocabulary, but basically it's really important for me to learn things in context. For example, I'm a complete beginner in Japanese right now, and I'm mostly just studying it by myself with my textbook, and whenever there's a new chapter, whenever it teaches me new vocabulary, like 2 pages later, it's gone from my head. I need to watch like a show and actually hear that word being used, or I need to hear it in a song, and that's when it will stick with me. Or if it's a word that's not very likely to come up in a show or something, then I try to write down as many example sentences as possible, and I always try to write down example sentences that I would actually use or maybe need one day, so that my brain feels it's more important and it's worth remembering. And also when I'm studying a language, I'd like to stay in that universe. Like when studying French, I'd like to think in French, I'd like to see all the explanations in French as well, so that my brain can code it better, if that makes sense. But your brain can basically recognize that these languages are just different coding systems, right? And that's why it's better to not learn vocabulary like table, la mesa, table, la mesa. But when you hear la mesa, just visualize a table in your head and associate with that, so that when you have to think of this word quickly or when you have to switch codes, you will have a much easier time. Number 3, do you think language courses are a good option? Actually, yes. And in my content, I always show you guys all the different ways that I study by myself, and I genuinely love self-studying, but that doesn't mean it doesn't come with challenges. Sometimes you're just not sure if you're learning the right things the right way. Sometimes you hit a plateau and you feel like your brain just can't process anything anymore. And whenever that happens, I know the solution is usually getting help from a professional. And one of my absolute favorite platforms for that is italki. I've mentioned them so many times on my channel already, but if you don't know, italki is a global language learning platform that connects students with native speaking teachers for one-on-one online language lessons. I mentioned in my last video that it's been especially helpful for me during my French journey because I mostly had to learn French on my own, and self-studying can be really challenging when you don't have any native speakers around you, or at least someone to correct you every once in a while, especially when you want to improve your speaking and listening skills. Without the guidance of a native tutor, making progress can feel like an uphill battle. At one point I felt pretty lost and realized I needed professional guidance and feedback, but I was also really busy with work. But thankfully, you can schedule classes on italki for basically whenever and wherever you want, and you only pay per lesson, so you don't have to feel the burden of a subscription. Lessons are totally based on your budget and schedule. So I've been getting some help from my lovely French tutor who's actually half Turkish, so he's been a lifesaver. Bonjour.
Salut Eylül, ça va? Ça va, oui, ça fait très longtemps.
Très longtemps.
Tu peux m'expliquer pourquoi tu aimes pas la Corée, travailler?
Le genre...
C'est plus facile de vivre en Asie pour un introverti. Il te laisse tranquille. J'aime bien ça.
Tu n'aimes pas parler avec les gens. T'as choisi ton travail très mal.
Attends, je vais t'expliquer ça. Pas que j'aime pas parler avec les gens. Moi, j'adore parler avec les gens. J'aime seulement les conversations profondes.
Je comprends, je suis aussi ça.
Voilà, la sensation.
La sensation est un peu bizarre, mais ouais. Je me suis réveillée et je peux parler un peu mieux.
Ça, je connais cette sensation. Et franchement, moi, je suis impressionnée. Tu parles très très bien.
The best part is there are over 150 languages on italki, so whatever language you're learning, I'm sure you can find the right tutor for you. And of course, I brought a discount code for you. I mean, 2026 is here, so if your New Year's resolution is to learn a new language, click the link in the description below. Start your language learning journey with my code, ALULNEAM2026. You can buy $10 to get $5 for free on your first lesson, but you have to hurry because this will only be available for the first 50 users. Number 4, which language would you give up? Oh my god, this is such a hard question. Like, no, they're all my babies. Korean. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm very grateful for having learned it. It changed my whole life, allowed me to study in university completely for free, got me fun jobs. But like, it just has so many layers of formality and respect. I feel like I just can't really be myself in Korean or express myself in the way that I want. And I've been learning it for 10 years, so I don't really think it's a skill issue, you know? I think it's because my personality is really not compatible with their culture at all, which is obviously not their fault. In my personal life, and I think on here too, I like cutting to the point. I'm very direct. Hence, I had to move out of the country that I've been living for the past 5 years. A lot of Korean Americans I've talked to also feel this way, by the way. I mean, I'm not Korean nor American, but I see that they deliberately switch to English sometimes, especially when they're at work, so they would feel just less burdened by these rules, I guess. Next, was studying German and Spanish together hard? Not at all, because I only started learning German when I was like B1, B2 in Spanish, and that's actually what I would recommend to anyone and everyone. Why are you in a rush? Sit down and get comfortable with one of them first. But if you really want to study them at the same time, then I would at least recommend you to study them on like different days or weeks so you can completely just focus on one for a longer amount of time, or to do completely different exercises. Like by the time I was doing simple grammar exercises in German, I was at a point where I could just understand Spanish TV shows without English subtitles, so I would do very separate activities like this if I'm going to do them on the same day. Next, discipline when learning a new language. I think I can clearly answer this now that I've done it so many times, but I think it primarily comes from love and excitement. Like whenever it's an obligation, it makes me want to not even do it. But if it's an obligation for you and if you're trying to find a way to be more consistent with it, I'd say put on your research classes. I just look all over social media to find this one thing that will get you really excited about learning this language. Like I had Spanish as a second language in high school for 1 or 2 years and I absolutely couldn't speak it. I could only say puedo ir al baño because I was so unaware of all the things I would come to love about Spanish speaking countries and their culture. I couldn't tap into that. I was in my Korean rap era, believe it or not. But one day on Spotify Shuffle, I think came this boy band called CNCO, and I grew up with One Direction, so I love me a boy band. And their songs were so catchy, I just loved listening to them over and over again. And that one simple thing made Spanish grow on me and to just learn more and more with passion, not because someone forced me to. So I would really encourage everyone to find that one thing for themselves.
Par jour pour pratiquer le français à l'oral et parfois même en vidéo pour les plus courageux. Discord et progresser avec l'engagement et qui était vraiment dans ces temps de pause, qui en plus travaille.
Hello. 2 cups of coffee and a whole reggaeton playlist later, I finally feel awake enough to study a bit more structurally, and this is gonna be like a full study day for me because I haven't been doing a lot lately. But basically, I always start with something a little bit passive like this, like listening to a podcast or watching a show that I like. And pro tip, if you have to study at your house, go get dressed, put a little makey makeup on. I found that just makes the biggest difference. So today I obviously started with my French podcast, and I usually take notes while I'm following it, but a girl just needed to finish her manicure. What can you do? But yeah, now I just want to go over the transcript one more time and note down some phrases or words that I wasn't really familiar with, and then I'm gonna do some Japanese. I am so excited. Japanese is such a hyperfixation at the moment. I don't even know why. I just love it so much.
Par jour pour pratiquer.
Relever un défi. Relever un défi.
Et donc en fait, de relever un défi par jour pour pratiquer que de s'occuper d'un bébé à la...
I love the Easy French podcast. You can actually just listen to it on Spotify for free. I just bought the podcast membership because I also wanted to see the transcript and the translations of the keywords as I'm listening to it. I like having that. But on the menu now, we have katakana. I'm already done with hiragana, which is so exciting. Like, I never thought I would be able to do it. It just seemed so complex, but I'm just gonna move on with my day with some katakana practice. It makes me feel alive. And for that, I'm actually using an app that I would never recommend. Honestly, I do not like the green owl for language learning at all, but only for the Japanese alphabet, I've been loving it. So we're gonna do that for a little while. As you guys can see, I get distracted quite a lot. I have a very short attention span, but I learned how to work with that. Like, for example, doing two things at the same time so I can focus a little bit better, or trying to keep it fun with like reggaeton or like other stuff that I like. And so we have come to the end of my attention span for Japanese for today, so I was gonna move on to the next thing. But I got hungry, which was actually the perfect occasion to move on to the next thing, because in this generation of iPad kids, I of course have to watch something whenever I'm eating, and I always make sure that the thing that I'm watching is in another language. I think this is like the perfect way to incorporate your maintenance languages into your life. Like, for example, I don't sit down and study a whole lot of German or Spanish anymore, so I just try to listen and watch a lot of German and Spanish stuff in my daily life. And for German, I have a couple go-to people that are always entertaining. One of those are Kaulitz brothers. Whatever they produce, they have a super fun podcast, and recently, like last year, they started their own show on Netflix too. Whatever they do, I watch, I devour, and I wasn't even into Tokyo Hotel like that. So I'm gonna have my lunch and watch Kaulitz brothers with German subtitles. I'm having lahmacun, by the way, for lunch. My absolute favorite Turkish food. I just googled it and turns out it's not necessarily Turkish. The internet says it's possibly Armenian, Arab, Turkish. So thank you to whoever made it.
Ganz überrascht, dass Tom auch ein Geschenk vorbereitet hat. Das ist nichts. Nee, ist zu viel Butter. Nimm mal raus. Es ist nicht zu viel Butter. Die ist ja beschichtet. Also ruiniert.
Okay, I rested a little bit because I was so full I was gonna pass out. But now I'm gonna show you guys how I do effective speaking practice. I'm an only child. I was home alone the whole day like I am right now. So I basically had to get creative. Right now it kind of became a nice obligation because I create content about languages. Like, I have to be good at them and produce videos in those languages, right? So I decided to film my next video fully in Korean. I'm basically gonna script for a little bit just to get my Korean juices going, and then I'm gonna film myself, and then I'm gonna look back and see if the video is good enough, right? And you do not need to be a content creator to do this. Find a topic, write your own script, pretend like you're giving an interview, and then just like record yourself, look at your mistakes. Like, for the past 2 years, I've been basically uploading videos of me speaking in other languages, and every year I look back on them and I'm like, wow, I really came a long way. And I'm just so glad that I've documented them because they just give me so much motivation. So let's think about what we want to say throughout this video. 진짜 한국어를 진짜 잘하고 싶으시면 한국어를 한국어로만 생각하셔야 해요. 한국어를 진짜 잘하고 싶으시면 한국어로만 생각하셔야 돼요. 한국 문화. Okay, so I think I know what I want to say basically. I just wrote like bullet points that I want to mention. Like, 한국어는 한국어로만 생각해야 잘 배울 수 있음. This is also really good for when you want to have some speaking practice, because I'm just not repeating what I wrote, but just following the bullet points so I can stay on topic, but I can still throughout improvise and use my own words, which is really, really important to be able to learn vocabulary, some phrases and stuff. This was my Korean practice for the day.
Alo.
Alo.
Ne yapıyorsun?
Oturuyorum, sen ne yapıyorsun?
Ben de dün kızla bitti ya.
Niye?
Abi bilmiyorum ya. Yine oldu bir şeyler.
Ulan, ay dur, Atahan arıyor, dur bak onu da konuşmaya alayım. Atahan biliyor mu?
O da bilmiyor bu arada.
Dur bak.
Şaka Sen anlatsana bana bir.
Öyle bir mesaj zaten hiçbir zaman güzel. Uraz neler neler olmuş. It's officially 7:22. In my book, the day is over. Moving on to washing my face. But I have my iPad here. I'm still watching.
Einen Tag vorher gesagt, dass ich einen Führerschein machen soll.
The Cowlitz brothers. Feels like I did everything and nothing at the same time, and I feel like when you're trying to tackle a lot of languages but also want to move on with your life, this is kind of how you should live. So as you can see, I didn't do a lot of sitting down and studying, which is realistically how my days are like, unless I have a language lesson booked or unless I'm trying to learn a specific piece of grammar or I'm trying to follow my textbook. I just do a lot of random things in different languages so I can just progress without pressuring myself a lot, and this has been working for the past 15 years. So let me know in the comments, what's your favorite way of studying languages? Am I insane? Like, do most people just prefer having a book or like sitting down and studying? Because I don't really know. I also don't watch a lot of polyglot content. I've always kind of tried to do my own thing. But yeah, this is my day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!